I've been sitting here a long time now. Don't know what time it is exactly. Don't much matter. Clock on the wall says something past midnight, but I stopped paying attention to clocks the way I used to. Time moves different when you get to be my age. Faster in some ways, slower in others. Whole decades can feel like they happened to someone else, like I'm watching a film about a man who just happened to have my name, my face, my mistakes. But some moments stay close, real close, so close you could swear they just happened yesterday, even when you know it's been 40 years, 50 years, longer. You wake up and for half a second, you're back there, young again, standing in that exact spot, saying those exact words, or not saying them. And then the present pulls you back and you remember where you are, who you are now, what you let happen. I don't sleep much anymore. Used to think that was just what happened when you got old. Body don't need as much rest. Mind won't let you have it anyway. But I know better now. I know why I'm awake, why I've been awake most nights for longer than I care to count. It ain't insomnia. It ain't my prostate, or my knees, or the way the bed feels too big, too empty. It's her. It's always been her. My wife died in the winter of 1981, February. Cold that year, colder than it had been in a long time. We were living in that little house on Ashland Avenue, the one with the green shutters that never hung quite right. She'd been sick for about 2 years by then. Cancer. Started in her breast, spread everywhere else. Doctors did what they could, but back then there wasn't much they could do. We knew it was coming. Didn't make it easier. But we knew. I was 53 years old. She was 51. We'd been married 31 years, since I was 22 and she was 20. Her name was Evelyn, but I called her Evie. Everyone called her Evie. She had a smile that made you feel like you'd done something right even when you hadn't. She had a way of humming while she cooked, these old hymns her mother taught her, and I can still hear it sometimes late at night when the house is quiet enough. She died on a Thursday. I remember because Thursday was the day I usually worked late at the plant. But I'd taken the week off, stayed home with her, held her hand, watched her breathe, watched her stop breathing. The nurse was there, the hospice nurse, a kind woman whose name I can't recall now. She told me it was peaceful, said Evie wasn't in pain at the end. I nodded, said thank you, did all the things you're supposed to do, but I wasn't there. I mean, I was there in the room, sitting right beside the bed, holding her hand like I said. But I wasn't there. My mind was somewhere else, somewhere far away. I'd been far away for a long time by then, years maybe, and I didn't even realize it until it was too late, until she was gone, and I couldn't get back. We had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, Marcus, the oldest, then David, then our daughter, Claire. They all came to the funeral, brought their families, their wives, their husbands, their children, my grandchildren. I stood there in my black suit that didn't fit right anymore, weight I'd lost while taking care of Evie, and I shook hands and accepted condolences and thanked people for coming. The burial was short. Preacher said some words. People cried. I didn't cry. Couldn't. Felt like I was watching it happen from somewhere outside myself, like I was floating above it all, seeing this old man standing by a grave, seeing his children standing beside him, seeing people I'd known my whole life put in flowers on the casket. After it was over, after everyone had left, after the kids had hugged me and told me to call if I needed anything, I went home. Back to that house on Ashland Avenue. Back to the quiet. I thought that would be it. Thought I'd grieve the way you're supposed to grieve. Thought I'd be sad for a while, then less sad. Then eventually, I'd find some kind of peace. That's what people told me would happen. Give it time, they said. It gets easier, they said. You'll never stop missing her, but you'll learn to live with it. I nodded, said thank you, went home and sat in the living room in the dark. 3 months went by. March, April, most of May. I went through the motions, got up in the morning, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table and read the newspaper, even though I couldn't tell you a single thing I read. Went to work some days, stayed home others. Nobody said much about it. Everyone knew. They gave me space, gave me time, gave me those sympathetic looks that made me want to disappear. I kept her things exactly where they were. Her robe still hanging on the back of the bathroom door, her slippers by the bed, her reading glasses on the nightstand, folded on top of a book she'd never finish. I couldn't touch them, couldn't move them. Every time I walked past something of hers, I felt this weight, this heaviness, but I still couldn't touch it. The house felt like a museum, like I was living in a place that was trying to preserve something that was already gone. I think part of me knew even then that I was doing it wrong, that I was holding on in a way that wasn't healthy, wasn't right, but I didn't know what else to do, didn't know how to let go, didn't know if I even wanted to. Then one night, in late May, I saw her. I was coming home from the grocery store. It was evening, not quite dark yet, but getting there. That time of day when the light turns gold and everything looks softer, gentler. I'd bought a few things. Nothing much. Bread, milk, eggs. Things I didn't really need, but bought anyway, because I had to do something, had to move through the world somehow. I pulled up to the house and parked on the street like I always did, got out of the car, walked around to get the grocery bag from the passenger seat. And that's when I saw her, Evie, my wife, standing on the front porch. She was wearing the yellow dress she used to wear in the summer, the one with the little white flowers on it. Her hair was down, the way she used to wear it when we were young. She was smiling. Not a big smile, just a small one, the kind she'd give me when I came home from work and she was in the middle of cooking dinner. That little acknowledgement that said, "I see you. I'm glad you're home." I dropped the grocery bag, heard the eggs break, didn't care. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I just stood there on the sidewalk, staring at her, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. My hands started shaking. My knees went weak. Everything in me was screaming that this wasn't possible, couldn't be possible. But there she was, right there, real as anything. She didn't say anything, just stood there looking at me with that same gentle expression, that same calmness she always had, like nothing was wrong, like she'd just been waiting for me to come home. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been 10 seconds, could have been 10 minutes. Time stopped meaning anything. Finally, I managed to take a step forward, then another. My voice came out broken, barely a whisper. "Evie." She didn't answer, didn't move, just kept looking at me with those eyes I'd known for more than 30 years, eyes I'd watched close for the last time 3 months ago. I took another step. "Evie, baby, is that you?" Still nothing, but she was still there, still standing on that porch. I was halfway up the walkway when a car drove past behind me, engine loud in the quiet evening. I glanced back for just a second, some automatic reflex, and when I looked back at the porch, she was gone. Disappeared. Like she'd never been there at all. I ran up the steps, fast as my old legs would carry me, grabbed the railing and looked around, called her name. Evie! Evie! Nothing. The porch was empty. The door was locked, same as I'd left it. No yellow dress, no smile, no her. I stood there for a long time, breathing hard, heart still racing. Eventually, I unlocked the door and went inside. Sat down on the couch without turning on the lights. Sat there in the growing darkness and tried to make sense of what I'd just seen. Part of me thought maybe I'd imagined it. Grief does things to you. I knew that. I'd heard stories about people seeing their dead loved ones, hearing their voices, feeling their presence. Hallucinations, the mind playing tricks, trying to cope with loss in whatever way it can. That had to be it. Had to be. But it felt so real. She looked so real. I could see the way the evening light caught her hair, could see the pattern of the flowers on her dress, could see the exact shape of her smile, the way her eyes crinkled just slightly at the corners. I sat there until it was full dark. Didn't eat dinner, didn't turn on the TV, just sat. That night I didn't sleep at all. Kept thinking about what I'd seen. Kept going over it in my mind, every detail, trying to figure out if I was losing my mind or if something else was happening, something I couldn't explain. By morning, I'd almost convinced myself it was nothing. Stress, exhaustion, grief, all of it together, creating something that wasn't there. I went about my day, made coffee, read the paper, pretended everything was normal. But I kept thinking about her standing on that porch, kept seeing her in my mind. I couldn't shake it, couldn't stop replaying that moment, that image of her in the yellow dress, that smile, that look in her eyes. I tried to work, tried to focus on something, anything else, but my mind kept going back. What did it mean? Why did I see her? Was I going crazy? Was this the beginning of something worse, some kind of breakdown? Or was it something else entirely? 3 days later, I saw her again. I was in the kitchen this time, middle of the afternoon. I'd been washing dishes, just a couple plates and a glass, and I looked up at the window above the sink, the window that faced the backyard. And there she was, standing by the fence, same yellow dress, same gentle expression, looking right at me through the glass. I froze, water still running in the sink, my hands covered in soap. We looked at each other. I don't know for how long. This time I didn't move, didn't call out, didn't run, just stood there, holding her gaze, trying to understand, trying to memorize every detail in case she disappeared again. The way she stood, the tilt of her head, the sunlight on her face. Then I blinked, and she was gone again. Just like before, there one moment, gone the next. I stood there with my wet hands dripping on the floor, staring at the empty backyard. My heart was racing, but not with panic this time, with something else. Hope, maybe, or longing. Or just the desperate need to see her again, to have her be there, to not be alone in this house anymore. After that, it kept happening. Not every day, but often enough. I'd see her in different places, different rooms, sometimes outside, sometimes inside, always wearing that yellow dress, always with that same calm look on her face. She never spoke, never moved much. Just appeared, stayed for a few moments, then vanished. I stopped trying to convince myself I was imagining it, stopped trying to explain it away. because every time I saw her, it felt the same. Real, solid, undeniable. I didn't tell anyone. How could I? What would I say? That my wife, who'd been dead and buried for 3 months, was appearing in my house, that I was seeing her ghost. They'd think I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had. Maybe that's exactly what was happening. But if I was crazy, then I didn't want to be sane. Because seeing her, even like that, even knowing it couldn't be real, was better than not seeing her at all. I started waiting for her, anticipating the moments she might appear. I'd be doing something ordinary, washing dishes, or reading the paper, or just sitting in my chair, and I'd feel this awareness, this sense that she might show up any moment. Sometimes she did, sometimes she didn't. There was no pattern I could figure out, no specific times or places. It seemed random, or maybe it wasn't random at all. Maybe there was a logic to it that I couldn't see. I started talking to her. When she'd appear, I'd speak, quietly at first. "Hey, baby, I miss you. I'm sorry." She never answered. But I kept talking, started telling her about my day, about things I'd been thinking about memories I'd been turning over in my mind. I'd stand there or sit there, wherever I was when she appeared, and I'd just talk like she was really there, really listening. Maybe she was. I don't know. The thing is, I'd never been good at talking to her when she was alive. Not really. Not about the things that mattered. We talked, sure. We had conversations about the kids, about the bills, about what to have for dinner, about whether we needed a new water heater, all the ordinary things that make up a life together. But the deeper things, the real things, the feelings and fears and regrets, I kept those locked up tight. That's how I was raised. You don't talk about feelings. You don't show weakness. You work hard. You provide for your family. You keep your problems to yourself. That's what a man does. My father never told my mother he loved her, at least not where I could hear it. Maybe he did in private. I don't know. But what I saw, what I learned, was silence. Keep it in. Stay strong. Don't burden others with what you're carrying. So that's what I did. For 31 years of marriage, I kept so much inside. Evie would try sometimes. She'd ask me what I was thinking about. "Nothing," I'd say. She'd ask me if something was wrong. "I'm fine," I'd say. She'd look at me with those eyes that saw more than I wanted her to see, and she'd let it go. Because that's who she was. Patient, understanding, waiting for me to be ready to open up. I never did, even when she got sick, even when we both knew she was dying. We didn't talk about it. Not really. We talked about her symptoms, her medications, her appointments, practical things. But we didn't talk about what it meant, what we were losing, how scared we both were, how much I was going to miss her, how much I loved her. I held her hand. I took care of her. I was there, but I wasn't there. I kept that wall up right until the end. And after she died, after the funeral, after everyone went home, and I was alone in that house, that's when it hit me. All the things I never said, all the conversations we never had, all the moments I'd wasted being silent when I should have spoken. It crushed me, still crushes me. So when I started seeing her, started having these impossible moments where she was there again, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I talked, told her everything I'd kept inside, every regret, every moment of love I'd felt but never expressed, every time I'd been scared or sad or angry and pretended I was fine, every time she'd reached out and I'd pulled away. I told her about the night before our wedding, how nervous I'd been, how I'd almost convinced myself I wasn't good enough for her, that she deserved better. My friend James had to talk me down, told me I was being a fool, that Evie loved me and I loved her, and that was all that mattered. But I was terrified. Terrified I'd disappoint her. Terrified I wouldn't be the husband she deserved. Terrified I'd fail. And in some ways, I did fail. Not in the big ways, maybe. I stayed faithful, mostly. Provided for the family. Kept a roof over our heads. But in the smaller ways, the ways that maybe matter more, I failed all the time. Failed to be present. Failed to be open. Failed to let her in. I told her about the day Marcus was born. How terrified I was holding him for the first time, this tiny, fragile thing. Knowing I was responsible for him. Knowing I had no idea what I was doing. I remember standing in the hospital room, Evie exhausted in the bed, the nurse putting this small bundle in my arms, and feeling like the whole world had just shifted. Like everything that came before was just practice, and everything from that moment forward was real. I looked down at his little face, his eyes closed, his tiny hands balled up in fists, and I thought, I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to do it wrong. I'm going to hurt him somehow just by being who I am. And I was right, in a way. Not in the ways I feared. I didn't drop him or forget to feed him or any of the physical things I worried about. But I hurt him in other ways. By being distant. By being closed off. By being there, but not there. Same way my father was with me. I told her about the times I'd come home from work, angry about something my boss said, or something that went wrong. And instead of talking to her about it, I'd just been quiet, distant, letting it eat at me, until it passed. There was this one time, must have been 1965 or so, when I got passed over for a promotion I'd been working toward for 2 years. They gave it to a younger guy, someone who'd only been there 6 months, someone who was white. I came home that day so angry I could barely see straight. But I didn't say anything, just came in, kissed Evie on the cheek, asked what was for dinner. She knew something was wrong, could see it on my face. Bad day? She asked. It's fine, I said. You sure? I said it's fine. My voice came out harder than I meant it to. She didn't push, just went back to cooking. And I sat in my chair reading the paper, not reading it really, just staring at the words while anger burned in my chest. She tried again later that night after the kids were in bed. Sat down next to me on the couch, put her hand on my arm. You want to talk about it? Nothing to talk about, I said. It might help. I said it's nothing. She pulled her hand back, didn't say anything else. Just sat there for a minute, then got up and went to bed. I stayed up late that night, sitting in the dark, nursing my anger like it was something precious. Never told her what happened, never let her in, just carried it alone until eventually it faded and I moved on to the next thing. That's how I did everything, carried it alone, kept her out, built walls between us that I told myself were protecting her, but really were just protecting me from being vulnerable, from being seen, from having to admit I wasn't as strong as I pretended to be. I told her about the affair. That was the hardest one, the one I'd carried for decades. I'd never told her about it while she was alive, never planned to. It happened in 1967, 14 years into our marriage. I was 36 years old. There was a woman at work, a secretary in the main office. Her name was Dorothy. She was younger than me by about 10 years. Pretty, friendly. She'd smile at me when I walked past her desk, make small talk, laugh at things I said that weren't even funny. I told myself it was nothing, just friendly, harmless. But I knew better. I knew what I was doing, knew the way I started going past her desk more often than I needed to, knew the way I looked forward to seeing her, knew the way my heart would beat a little faster when she smiled at me. One day I stayed late to finish some paperwork, and she was still there too. Everyone else had gone home. The office was quiet. We got to talking. Just talking at first, about work, about life, about nothing in particular. But then somehow we were talking about our dreams, our disappointments, the things we wished were different. And she told me she'd always found me attractive, said she'd been hoping I'd notice her. I should have left right then, should have made some excuse and gone home to my wife. But I didn't. I kissed her instead. And that's how it started. It lasted 3 months. 3 months of lying, of sneaking around, of meeting in her apartment on nights I told Evie I was working late, of coming home and climbing into bed next to my wife with the smell of another woman still on me. I ended it because I couldn't live with myself anymore. The guilt was eating me alive. Every time I looked at Evie, every time she smiled at me or touched my hand or said she loved me, I felt like I was going to break apart. So I told Dorothy it was over, that it was a mistake, that I loved my wife. She cried, said she understood, asked if we could still be friends. I said no, said it was better if we kept our distance. She transferred to a different department a few weeks later, and a few months after that, she took a job at a different company. I never saw her again, never spoke to her again, and I never told Evie. Buried it deep, carried the guilt like a stone in my chest for the rest of her life, and for all the years after. But when I saw Evie standing in the backyard that day, saw her looking at me through the kitchen window, I couldn't hold it anymore. I told her, said it out loud. I cheated on you, Evie, back in '67. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake. I loved you the whole time. Only you. Always you. But I did it anyway, and I've hated myself for it every day since. She just looked at me. Didn't react. Didn't change expression. Then she was gone. I broke down, right there in the kitchen, fell to my knees and sobbed harder than I'd cried since I was a child. All that guilt, all that shame, all those years of carrying it alone, it came pouring out. I don't know how long I stayed there on the floor, long enough that my knees ached when I finally got up, long enough that the light outside had changed, evening settling in, long enough that I felt emptied out, hollowed, like everything inside me had been poured out, and now there was nothing left, but also lighter, like I'd been carrying this massive weight, and finally, I'd set it down. After that, I told her everything. Every time she appeared, I'd confess something else, some other failure, some other moment I'd let her down, or let myself down, or let our children down. Told her about the time I lost my temper and yelled at Marcus when he was 10 years old. He'd broken a window playing baseball in the yard, came running inside, crying, saying he was sorry. It was an accident. And instead of comforting him, instead of telling him it was okay, accidents happen, I yelled. Yelled so loud I scared him, saw the fear in his eyes, saw him flinch back from me, and I just kept yelling about how he should have been more careful, about how money didn't grow on trees, about how I worked hard and he needed to respect that. All this anger pouring out that had nothing to do with a broken window. It was about the promotion I didn't get, about feeling powerless at work, about all the frustration I kept bottled up with nowhere for it to go. And I took it out on my 10-year-old son. When I finally stopped yelling, he just stood there trembling. Then he turned and ran to his room. Evie looked at me with disappointment in her eyes. Didn't say a word, just looked at me. Then she went upstairs to comfort him, and I stood there in the living room, ashamed, knowing I should go apologize, knowing I should make it right. But I didn't. Just walked away. Never apologized, never talked to him about it, just pretended it never happened, and moved on. That's what I did with everything. Pretended it never happened, never dealt with it, never made it right. I told her about the time David came to me wanting to talk about a girl he liked, wanting advice. He was 15, maybe 16. Came and sat down next to me while I was watching the game on TV. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Yeah, sure," I said, eyes still on the screen. "There's this girl at school. I really like her, but I don't know if she likes me back. How do you tell?" I should have turned off the TV, should have given him my full attention, should have remembered what it was like to be that age, uncertain, vulnerable, hoping for guidance from the one man who was supposed to have answers. But I didn't. "Just be yourself," I said. "If she likes you, she likes you. If not, there'll be others." "But how do I know if—" "We'll talk later, okay? Game's almost over." He sat there for another minute. Then he got up and left. We never did talk later. He never brought it up again. And I never asked. Just let the moment pass like it was nothing. Like his feelings didn't matter. Like he didn't matter. I told her about the time Claire asked me to come to her school play, and I said I would. But then I didn't. She was in 8th grade, playing some small part, just a few lines. But she was so excited, came home from rehearsal every day and told us all about it. Told me specifically that she wanted me there opening night. "You'll come, right, Daddy?" "Of course, baby girl. Wouldn't miss it." Her face lit up. She hugged me. "Promise." "I promise." But when the day came, my boss asked me to stay late. There was a problem with an order, something that needed to be fixed before the next shift. I should have said no. Should have said my daughter had a play and I'd promised to be there. But I didn't. I said okay. Told myself I'd make it if I worked fast enough. But I didn't work fast enough. By the time I got to the school, the play was over. I saw Evie and Claire coming out of the auditorium. Claire saw me. Her face fell, just for a second. Then she put on a smile. "You're here." "I'm so sorry, baby. I tried to make it, but work—" "It's okay," she said. "It's fine." But it wasn't fine. I could see it in her eyes. The disappointment, the hurt, the realization that her father's promises didn't mean much. Evie didn't say anything until we got home, until Claire was in bed. Then she turned to me in the kitchen and said, "She waited for you." "I know." I said, "I'm sorry." She kept looking at the door, kept hoping you'd come. Even during her scenes, I could see her looking. "What do you want me to do, Evie? I had to work." "You had a choice." "No, I didn't. My boss needed—" "You always have a choice," she said. "You chose work. You chose wrong." Then she went to bed, left me standing there in the kitchen, angry, defensive, refusing to admit she was right. I told Evie all of this. Told her about my own father, how he'd been hard on me, cold, distant, how he'd worked long hours at the steel mill, came home exhausted, had no energy left for me, or my mother, or my sisters, how I'd sworn I'd be different with my own kids, how I'd promised myself I'd be present, involved, warm, how I'd ended up being just like him anyway, making the same mistakes, choosing work over family, choosing silence over connection, passing down the same patterns I'd promised to break. I told her about my mother, how she died when I was 17. Heart attack, sudden, no warning. I came home from school, and she was gone, just gone. 1 minute, she was there, making plans for dinner, humming in the kitchen. The next minute she was on the floor, and by the time the ambulance came, it was too late. At the funeral, I stood there dry-eyed, feeling everything inside but showing nothing outside. My father stood next to me, rigid, silent. After it was over, we went home, sat in the living room, didn't talk, didn't cry, just sat. Finally he said, "Men don't cry." She wouldn't want us to cry. So I didn't. I held it in, buried it, carried it for years, decades, never letting it out, never grieving properly, never dealing with the loss, just pretending I was fine. That's what men did. That's what I learned. I told her about the dreams I'd had when I was young. Wanted to be a musician once. Played saxophone. Started when I was 12. Took lessons from a man at church who played in jazz clubs on the weekends. I was pretty good, or at least I thought I was. Loved the way it felt, the way the music came out of me, the way I could express things through the horn that I couldn't express any other way. Had dreams of playing in clubs, maybe even making records someday. My mother encouraged it, said I had talent, said I should follow my dreams, but my father said it wasn't practical, said I needed to think about my future, about making a living, about supporting a family someday. Music's fine for a hobby, he said, but it's not a career, not for someone like us. Someone like us, meaning black, meaning poor, meaning we didn't have the luxury of dreams. So when I graduated high school, I got a job at the plant. Same place my father worked. Manual labor, steady pay, benefits. Practical, safe. And I put the saxophone in the closet, told myself I'd get back to it someday, when I had more time, when I was more settled, someday. But someday never came. I got married, had kids, got busier. The saxophone stayed in the closet, gathering dust, until eventually I couldn't even remember the last time I'd played it. Couldn't remember what it felt like to have that kind of dream, that kind of passion. I told Evie how much I regretted that. Not because I thought I would have made it as a musician. Maybe I wouldn't have. But because I gave up, without even trying. Gave up because I was scared, because I let my father's fear become my fear, because I chose safety over possibility. And I wondered sometimes, late at night, what my life would have been like if I'd been braver, if I'd taken the risk, if I'd followed the dream instead of the paycheck. Would I have been happier? Would I have been a better husband, a better father, a better man? Or would I have just failed and ended up bitter and broken? I don't know. I'll never know. And that's what haunts me, not knowing. And I told her how much I loved her, over and over, every time she appeared. I love you, Evie. I always loved you. I should have said it more. She never spoke back, never acknowledged anything I said, just appeared, stood there for those brief moments, then vanished. But I kept talking, felt like I owed her that much. All the words I never said While she was alive, all the feelings I kept locked inside, all the love I felt but couldn't express, I was giving it to her now. Late, far too late, but I was giving it. This went on for months, through the summer, into the fall. I saw her less and less as time went on. Once a week, then once every 2 weeks, then less. Each time felt more precious because I didn't know if it would be the last. I started to change, slowly, without really meaning to. Started calling my kids more, actually talking to them, not just asking about the weather or how work was going, but really talking, asking how they were feeling, telling them I loved them. Something I'd almost never said out loud before. They seemed surprised at first, Marcus especially. The first time I said it, there was this long pause on the phone. Then he said, "You okay, Dad?" "I'm fine," I said. "I just wanted you to know that I love you, that I'm proud of you." Another pause. "I love you too, Dad." His voice was thick with emotion, like he'd been waiting his whole life to hear those words. And maybe he had been. After that, I made sure to say it every time we talked, every single time. And after a while, it stopped feeling awkward, started feeling natural, started feeling like something I should have been doing all along. I started going through Evie's things, not to get rid of them, just to be close to them, to remember. I'd sit on the bed with her clothes, hold them, smell them, let myself feel all the sadness I'd been pushing down. Found letters she'd written to me over the years, birthday cards, anniversary cards, little notes she'd leave in my lunch when I went to work. I read every single one, cried over most of them. In one card from our 20th anniversary, she'd written, "To my steady rock, you may not say much, but I feel your love in everything you do. Thank you for building this life with me. I love you more than words can say." I must have read that line 100 times. You may not say much, but I feel your love in everything you do. She knew. All those years I thought I was hiding my feelings, keeping them locked away. She knew anyway. She saw me, really saw me. And she loved me despite it all. Maybe because of it all. That thought, that realization, it changed something in me. Made me understand that maybe I wasn't as good at hiding as I thought. That maybe all those walls I'd built hadn't protected anyone. They just kept me isolated, kept me from being fully present in my own life. I found other things too, going through her belongings. A journal she'd kept for a few years in the 70s. I didn't know she kept a journal, never saw her writing in it. But there it was, tucked away in the back of her dresser drawer, a simple notebook with a blue cover. I hesitated before opening it, felt like I was invading her privacy. But she was gone, and I needed to feel close to her, needed to know her thoughts, the things she never said out loud. So I read it, not all at once, couldn't handle that, but slowly, over several weeks, a few pages at a time. Most of it was ordinary, things she did during the day, thoughts about the kids, recipes she wanted to try, plans for the garden, the everyday details of a life. But scattered throughout were entries about me, about us. Some of them hurt to read. He came home quiet again, today. I asked what was wrong, and he said nothing, but I know better. I wish he'd let me in. I wish he'd trust me with whatever he's carrying. Sometimes I feel like I'm married to a stranger. That one made me cry, made me see how much my silence had hurt her, how lonely she must have been, living with someone who kept everything locked inside. Another entry from a few years later. We've been married 15 years today. He gave me flowers, remembered without me having to remind him. But when I tried to talk to him about us, about how we're doing, about whether he's happy, he shut down, said everything's fine. But I can see it in his eyes. There's so much he's not saying. I wonder if he even knows what he's feeling, or if he's buried it so deep he can't find it anymore. Reading that, I realized she'd understood me better than I'd understood myself. She'd seen through all my defenses, seen the pain I was hiding, the fear, the inability to be vulnerable. And she'd stayed anyway, loved me anyway, waited patiently for me to open up, even though I never did. But there were other entries too. Watched him playing with Marcus in the yard today. He's so gentle with him, so patient. He may not say the words, but I can see how much he loves our boy. Makes my heart full. He fixed the porch step today without me even asking. He notices the little things, even if he doesn't say anything. That's his way of showing love, I think. 25 years together today. He gave me flowers, yellow roses, my favorite. He remembered. He always remembers, even when I think he's not paying attention. Reading those entries, seeing how she'd noticed things, how she'd found love in my actions, even when I couldn't speak it, it broke me and healed me at the same time. She'd known. Not everything, maybe, but enough. Enough to stay. Enough to love me. Enough to build a life with me despite my failings. I kept that journal, put it on the nightstand next to my side of the bed. Sometimes I'd read an entry before trying to sleep, just to hear her voice in my head, to remember how she saw the world, how she saw me. The last entry was from about a month before she got diagnosed. Beautiful day today. Took a walk around the neighborhood, noticed the Johnsons' roses are blooming, made pot roast for dinner, his favorite. He smiled when he came home and smelled it cooking. That smile, after all these years, it still makes me feel like a young woman in love. I'm grateful for this life, for him, for all of it. I must have read that entry 1,000 times. I'm grateful for this life, for him, for all of it. She'd been grateful. For me. For our life together. Despite everything I didn't say, everything I held back, she'd been grateful. That knowledge, that gift she left me in those pages, it helped. Didn't erase the regret. Didn't make up for all the times I should have spoken and didn't. But it helped. Made me understand that love isn't just words. That actions matter too. That maybe, just maybe, I hadn't failed as completely as I thought. Still, I wished I'd said more. Wished I'd let her in. Wished I'd given her the words, along with the actions. She deserved both. Deserved all of it. I started taking walks around the neighborhood. Same route Evie used to take. Down Ashland to the corner, turn left on Maple, circle around past the park, back home. She used to do it every morning, said it helped her think, helped her start the day right. I'd never joined her, always said I didn't have time. But I had time now, nothing but time. So I walked, and I thought about her, about us, about all the small moments I'd missed by being somewhere else in my head. I'd pass the houses she'd pass, see the same trees, the same gardens. And I'd remember her telling me about them. Mrs. Henderson planted new roses, she'd say at dinner. I'd respond, not really listening. They're beautiful, deep red. She said they're called Mr. Lincoln. That's nice. And I'd go back to eating, go back to whatever I was thinking about, and miss the moment entirely. Miss the fact that she was trying to share something with me, trying to connect, and I was too closed off, too distant to receive it. Walking that route now, I saw what she'd seen. Mrs. Henderson's roses, still there, still blooming. Mr. Patterson's meticulously kept lawn, the old oak tree on the corner where kids used to build tree houses, all of it familiar because she'd told me about it 1,000 times. And I'd never really listened, never really cared. But I cared now that it was too late. The last time I saw Evie was on a Tuesday in November, almost 9 months after her funeral. I was sitting in the living room, evening, like always, light fading outside. I wasn't doing anything particular, just sitting in my chair, thinking, remembering. And then she was there, standing by the window, same yellow dress, but this time, something was different. She was smiling, not the small, gentle smile she'd been wearing all those other times, a real smile, the kind she used to give me when something made her genuinely happy. And she was looking at me in a way she hadn't before, with something that felt like pride, or maybe peace, or maybe forgiveness. I stood up, walked toward her. Evie. My voice steady this time. No shock, no panic, just love. I miss you, baby. Every day I miss you. She kept smiling. I'm trying, I said. I'm trying to be better, to do what I should have done before. I don't know if it's enough, don't know if it'll ever be enough, but I'm trying. She nodded, just once, a small, deliberate nod, like she was saying she knew. She understood. She saw me trying. And it mattered. Then she did something she'd never done before. She raised her hand, placed it over her heart, held it there for a moment. Then she pointed at me, her hand moving from her heart to me. A gesture so simple, so clear. I love you. I felt tears running down my face. I love you too, I said. I love you so much. I always did. I'm so sorry I didn't say it enough. I'm so sorry I didn't show you better. I'm so sorry for all of it. She smiled one more time, that beautiful smile I'd known for more than 30 years. Then she was gone, just like that, disappeared into nothing. I stood there alone in the living room, crying, but this time it was different. It wasn't the crushing grief I'd felt before. It wasn't the guilt or the regret or the desperate longing. It was something else, something softer. Sadness, yes, but also gratitude for those 9 months, for those impossible visits, for the chance to say everything I'd never said, for the chance to be seen, truly seen, in all my brokenness, and to be loved anyway. I never saw her again after that, not in the same way, but sometimes I feel her presence, like she's standing just behind me, just out of sight, especially when I'm doing something she would have liked, when I'm cooking her pot roast recipe, when I'm in the garden, tending the roses she planted years ago, when I'm talking to the kids, really talking, being open in a way I never was before. I feel her then, like she's watching, like she's pleased, like she's saying, good, keep going, you're doing it right now. I'm 84 years old now. Been more than 40 years since Evie died. More than 40 years since that day I came home and saw her standing on the porch. I think about it all the time. Think about whether it was real, whether I was seeing her ghost, or whether my mind created what I needed to heal. I don't have an answer. Don't know if I'll ever have one. Doctors would probably say it was grief-induced hallucination, the mind playing tricks, creating what I needed to see in order to process the loss. Ministers would probably say It was divine intervention, God giving me a gift, a chance to heal. I don't know which it was. Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe it doesn't matter. Because regardless of what it was, regardless of where it came from, it changed me. It saved me, I think, pulled me out of the spiral I was in, gave me a reason to look at myself honestly, to face all the things I'd been avoiding, to finally break down those walls. I'm closer to my children now than I ever was when they were young. Marcus and I talk on the phone every Sunday, without fail. It's our routine. He calls around 10 in the morning, after he's had his coffee, before his day gets too busy. We talk for an hour, sometimes more. He tells me about his life, his struggles, his joys, his work as an engineer, the projects he's managing, his marriage, which has its ups and downs like any marriage, his kids, my grandchildren, who are grown now with lives of their own. And I actually listen, really listen, not just waiting for my turn to talk or thinking about something else. I'm present for it. I ask questions. I share my own experiences when they're relevant. I tell him things too, about his mother, about our life together, about my regrets, about the mistakes I made raising him, about how sorry I am for the times I wasn't there. The first time I apologized to him, really apologized, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Dad, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," I said. "I do have to. I need you to know that I see it now. See how I failed you. And I'm sorry. You didn't fail me, Dad. You were there. You provided. I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? I was distant, closed off. I should have been better." Another long pause. Then, "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot." We've had versions of that conversation several times over the years, each time peeling back another layer, getting a little more honest, a little more real. He's a good man, Marcus. Better than I was at his age. Better than I ever was, really. He's open with his kids, tells them he loves them, shows up for them in ways I never did. Breaks my heart and fills it at the same time, watching him be the father I should have been. But I'm proud of him for it. Proud he didn't repeat my mistakes. Proud he broke the cycle. David visits once a month, drives 2 hours to spend an afternoon with me. We watch football, eat lunch, talk, really talk. He's more like I was, struggles with opening up, keeps things inside. But he's trying. I can see it, see him making the effort, even when it's hard. He told me recently that he appreciates these visits more than he can say, that he feels like he's getting to know me for the first time. "I always knew you as Dad," he said, "but I didn't really know you as a person, as a man. Now I do." That hurt to hear, but I understood what he meant. For so long, I was this distant figure, present, but not present, there but not there. Now we talk about real things. His marriage, which has its struggles. He and his wife, nearly divorced a few years back, went through a rough patch where they barely spoke to each other. He told me about it one day, sitting in my living room, voice thick with emotion. "I don't know what to do, Dad. I feel like we're strangers, like we're just going through the motions." I thought about that, thought about me and Evie, thought about all the times we went through the motions. "Do you love her?" I asked. "Yes," he said immediately. "I do." "Does she know that?" He looked at me. "What do you mean?" "Does she know you love her? Do you tell her? Do you show her?" He was quiet. "I tell her sometimes." "Sometimes isn't enough," I said. "Take it from someone who knows. You've got to say it all the time. And not just say it. Show it. Be present. Be open. Let her in. It's hard, he said. I know it is. It was hard for me too. Still is. But you've got to do it anyway. You've got to fight against that instinct to close off, to shut down. Because if you don't, you'll wake up one day and she'll be gone. And all you'll have is regret. He took that in, sat with it. Then he said, how do you do it? How do you open up when everything in you says to keep it in? You just do it, I said. It doesn't get easier, but you do it anyway. You force yourself. You push through the discomfort. And eventually, maybe, it starts to feel a little more natural. He nodded. They worked it out, him and his wife. Went to counseling. Started really talking to each other. Started being honest about what they needed, what they were feeling. They're doing better now. Not perfect, but better. And he told me I helped with that. That conversation we had, it made him see things differently. Made him realize he was repeating the same patterns he grew up with. And he didn't want that. Didn't want to end up like me, full of regrets, wishing he'd done it different. So he changed. And I'm proud of him for that. Proud he had the courage I didn't have until it was too late. Claire lives closer, just across town. She comes by most weeks, brings her grandchildren sometimes. My great-grandchildren. Beautiful kids who call me Papa. They don't know the man I used to be. They only know who I am now. This old man who hugs them when they come over, who asks about school, who tells them stories about their great-grandmother. That's a gift, I think. Getting to be someone different for them. Getting to be present in a way I never was before. Claire and I have had some hard conversations over the years about the times I let her down, the times I wasn't there. She's forgiven me, I think. At least she says she has, but I know the scars are still there. The memories of a father who is present but absent, there but not there. We talked about it once, few years back. She'd come over for dinner, just the two of us, and after we ate, we sat on the porch with coffee. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and pink. And out of nowhere she said, "Do you remember my 8th grade graduation?" I thought about it, tried to remember, couldn't. "I don't think so," I said. "I'm sorry." She nodded like she'd expected that answer. "You were supposed to come," she said. "But you had to work late. Mom came by herself. I kept looking for you in the audience, thinking maybe you'd make it. But you didn't." The pain in her voice, even after all those years, cut right through me. "I'm sorry, baby girl," I said. "I'm so sorry." "I know," she said. "I know you are. And I know you were working to provide for us, to give us a good life. I understand that now. But back then, all I understood was that you weren't there. That work was more important than I was." "That's not true," I said. "You were important. You were always important. Then why weren't you there?" I didn't have an answer. Not a good one, anyway. "I don't know," I said finally. "I thought I was doing the right thing. Thought providing was enough. Thought as long as you had food and clothes and a roof over your head, that was what mattered. We needed more than that, Daddy. We needed you. I know that now." We sat quiet for a while. Then she said, "There were so many times like that. So many times you chose something else over us, over me. I know. Do you? Do you really know what that felt like? To be a little girl, waiting for her father to show up, hoping he'd come, and having him not come. Over and over." I was crying by then. Couldn't help it. "I'm so sorry, Claire. I'm so sorry. I wish I could go back. Wish I could do it different. I know, she said, but you can't. None of us can. No. We sat there in the quiet for a while. Then she reached over and took my hand. But I'm grateful for who you are now, Daddy. I'm grateful you changed, that you're here now, present, showing up. It matters. Even if it's late, it matters. I squeezed her hand. Couldn't speak. Just held on. That conversation stayed with me. Still does. The pain of knowing I hurt her. The grace of her forgiveness. The gift of her still wanting me in her life despite everything. I don't take that for granted. Not for a second. I think about legacy sometimes. What I'll leave behind when I'm gone. Not money or property. I don't have much of that. But the other things, the memories, the impact, the way people will remember me. For so long, I thought my legacy would be one of silence, of absence, of a man who was there, but not really there. And maybe for some people, that's still how they'll remember me. Can't change the past, can't erase the years I was closed off. But I hope I've changed it a little. Hope that the last 20, 30 years count for something. Hope that the person I became after Evie died, after I saw her, after I finally learned to speak, hope that person matters too. Hope my kids remember that. Hope my grandkids know me as someone who loved them, who told them so, who was present in their lives, even if it took me too long to learn how. I look at old photographs sometimes, pictures from when the kids were young, family photos, holiday pictures, birthday parties. I'm in most of them, standing there, usually in the back, usually not smiling. Looking at those photos now, I can see it, the distance, the way I was physically present, but emotionally elsewhere, the way I held myself apart, even from my own family. It's painful to see, but necessary, I think. Important to witness the truth of who I was, not to punish myself, just to remember, to understand, to make sure I don't slip back into those old patterns, even now. There's one photo I keep on the mantle. It's from Marcus's high school graduation. The whole family is in it. Evie's in the middle, smiling that beautiful smile. The kids are gathered around her, all of them grinning, proud. And I'm on the end, hands in my pockets, slight smile on my face, looking at the camera, but somehow looking past it too. There, but not there. Every time I see that photo, I feel it. The regret, the sadness of all those moments I was only half present for. But I keep it there. Keep it where I can see it. A reminder of who I was, of who I don't want to be anymore. The house is different now than it was in those years right after Evie died. I've made changes, small ones mostly, painted a few rooms, got rid of some furniture that was falling apart, bought a new couch, a comfortable one that fits just me. Her things are still here, some of them, but not all. I packed up most of her clothes years ago, donated them to the church, kept a few things. Her favorite sweater, the blue one she wore all the time, the robe she wore every morning, soft and worn, a scarf that still smells like her perfume, even after all this time. They're in a box in the closet now. I take them out sometimes, hold them, remember. But I don't need them the way I used to. Don't need the physical objects to feel close to her. She's with me anyway, in my memory, in my heart, in the way I've changed because of her, because of losing her, because of those 9 months when I saw her and finally learned to speak. I've thought a lot over the years about what those 9 months meant, whether they were real or not, whether Evie's spirit really came back, or whether it was all in my mind. Some days I believe one thing, other days I believe another. But more and more, I'm coming to think it doesn't matter. Real or not, it happened. It changed me. It gave me what I needed to heal, to grow, to become someone better. And isn't that enough? Whether it was a ghost or a hallucination or some kind of divine intervention, does it really matter? The effect was the same. I got to say what I needed to say, got to confess my failures, got to express my love, got to begin healing. That's what matters. Not the mechanism, not the explanation, just the result. I talked to a priest about it once. This was maybe 10 years ago. I'd been going to church more regularly, trying to find some kind of peace, some kind of understanding. After Mass one Sunday, I asked if I could speak with him. We sat in his office, and I told him everything about seeing Evie, about the 9 months of visitations, about how it changed me. He listened without interrupting, didn't look at me like I was crazy, didn't dismiss it, just listened. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Do you believe it was her?" "I don't know," I said. "Some days yes, some days no." He nodded. "Does it matter?" he asked. "I don't know that either," I said. "Let me ask you this," he said. "Did it help you? Did it bring you peace?" I thought about it. "Yes," I said. "It did." "Then perhaps that's all you need to know," he said. "God works in mysterious ways. Who's to say he can't work through our grief, through our minds, through whatever form he chooses? If you found healing, if you found your way back to love, to openness, to grace, then it was a blessing, no matter the form it took. I've held on to those words, turned them over in my mind many times since. A blessing, no matter the form it took. Maybe that's the truth of it. Maybe I'll never know for sure what happened during those 9 months. But I know what came after. I know who I became. And that's blessing enough. I don't go to church as much anymore. My body doesn't cooperate the way it used to. Getting dressed, driving there, sitting through the service, it's all harder than it was. But I still pray, every night before I try to sleep. Thank God for the life I've lived, for Evie, for my children, for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, for the chance to change, even late in life, for the grace of those 9 months. Whatever they were, I pray for forgiveness too, for the hurt I caused, for the moments I missed, for the love I failed to express. I don't know if God forgives me, don't know if Evie forgives me, but I'm working on forgiving myself. That's harder than I thought it would be. Easier to believe in divine forgiveness than to look in the mirror and say, "You did wrong, but you're doing better now, and that's okay." But I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying. Some days are better than others. Some days I wake up and feel okay, feel like I've made peace with it all. Other days, the regret is crushing, overwhelming, and I can barely get out of bed. Those days, I just sit, let it wash over me, let myself feel it. Don't run from it anymore. Don't try to stuff it down or pretend it isn't there. Just feel it. Eventually it passes. It always passes. And I get up and keep going. That's all we can do, really. Feel what we feel. Carry what we carry. Keep going anyway. I've learned that grief doesn't end, doesn't have a finish line. People talk about stages of grief, about moving through it, getting to acceptance. And maybe that's true for some people. But for me, it's not linear. It's circular. I move through denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance. And then I'm back to denial again, or anger, or any of them. Not as intense as in the beginning, but still there, still present. After 40 years, I still miss her, still feel the ache of her absence, still wish I could talk to her, hold her, hear her voice. The grief has changed shape, softened maybe, become something I can live with instead of something that threatens to drown me. But it's still there, will always be there. And I've made peace with that, because the grief is just love with nowhere to go. That's what someone told me once, I can't remember who, but it stuck with me. Grief is just love with nowhere to go. So I still love her, still carry that love, and the grief comes along with it, part of the package. Can't have one without the other. I wouldn't want to anyway. Wouldn't want to stop grieving if it meant stopping loving. She deserves to be grieved, deserves to be missed, deserves to be loved, even in death, especially in death. I think about the saxophone sometimes, that dream I gave up. Few years back, I actually went up to the attic and found it. The case was covered in dust, the leather cracked and worn. I brought it down, opened it up. The saxophone was still there, tarnished, the pads dry and cracked. I took it to a repair shop, had them fix it up. Cost more than I expected, but I didn't care. When I got it back, I tried to play it, but my fingers didn't work like they used to. Stiff, arthritic. Couldn't make the notes come out right. Couldn't remember the songs I used to know. I tried for a few weeks, practiced every day. But it was frustrating. My body couldn't do what my mind remembered. Eventually, I gave up. It back in the case. But I kept it, didn't put it back in the attic, left it in the living room, in the corner. A reminder, not of failure, but of dreams, of the person I might have been, of all the possibilities that existed before I chose safety over passion. Sometimes when I sit in my chair, I look at it, and I wonder, but I don't regret it anymore. Not the way I used to, because I understand now that every choice we make closes some doors and opens others. I gave up music, but I got a family. I gave up dreams of clubs and records, but I got Marcus and David and Claire. I got grandchildren, great-grandchildren. I got a life. Maybe not the one I imagined when I was young, but a life nonetheless. And it was enough. It is enough. The house is quiet tonight, quieter than usual even. No wind outside, no cars passing, just the tick of the clock and the hum of the refrigerator. Sounds I've lived with so long, I barely hear them anymore. I should probably try to sleep. Body needs rest, even if my mind doesn't want to give in. But I'll sit here a little longer. Let my mind wander. Let the memories come. I'm not afraid of them anymore. Not afraid of the pain they bring, the sadness, the regret. It's all part of it. Part of loving someone. Part of losing them. Part of learning to live with the loss. I close my eyes, see her in my mind. That yellow dress, that smile, those eyes that saw right through me, right to the parts I tried to hide. I love you, Evie, I whisper into the quiet. I love you still. The house doesn't answer, never does. But I feel something, a warmth maybe, a sense of presence. Could be imagination, could be wishful thinking, could be real. I don't need to know which anymore. I just need to feel it, to hold on to it, to let it comfort me in whatever way it can. I open my eyes, look around the room. Everything is familiar. Everything is mine. This life I've built, this space I inhabit. It's not much, just an old man in an old house. But it's enough. It's mine. And I'm grateful for it. Grateful for every moment, every memory, every regret, and every joy. All of it together, making up this thing called a life, my life. with all its flaws and failures, with all its beauty and love. There are sounds outside now, a car passing, someone walking their dog, life going on the way it always does, people living their lives, making their choices, building their memories. Some of them will have regrets like mine, some won't. But they'll all have something. We all do. That's part of being human, part of being alive, making mistakes, hurting people we love, wishing we'd done it different, but also finding moments of grace, moments of connection, moments that make it all worthwhile. I stand up slowly, knees protesting, back stiff, walk over to the window, look out at the street. The same street Evie and I walked down 1,000 times. The same street where I saw her standing on the porch that first time. It looks different now in some ways. Different cars, different neighbors. Some of the old families moved away, new ones moved in. But in other ways, it's exactly the same. The same houses, the same trees, the same feeling of home. I think about all the people who've lived in these houses over the years, all the lives that have unfolded here, all the joy and pain and ordinary moments that make up a neighborhood, a community, a world. And I feel connected to it, part of something larger than myself, part of the ongoing story of people trying to live, trying to love, trying to do better. I go to the bedroom. The bed still feels too big. Even after all these years, still feels like half of it is empty. Half of it waiting for someone who's never coming back. But I've gotten used to it. The emptiness, the absence. It's part of my life now, part of who I am. I lie down, pull the blanket up, rest my head on the pillow, close my eyes. "Good night, Evie," I whisper. "I love you." And in the darkness, in the quiet, I let myself drift. Not towards sleep, not quite yet, but toward that space between waking and dreaming, where memories feel more like reality, where the past and present blur together, where sometimes, if I'm lucky, I can almost feel her beside me again. Just for a moment, just long enough to remember what it felt like, to be loved, to be known, to be seen, truly seen, despite all my walls and all my silence. I drift there in that space, holding on to love, holding on to memory, holding on to everything I learned, everything I finally said, everything I finally became. An old man, tired, grateful, still missing her, still loving her, still here. For now, for however long I have left, living with what was, living with what is, trying to make peace with both. And maybe that's all any of us can do. Live with our regrets, live with our mistakes. Try to do better. Try to love harder. Try to say the things that need to be said while there's still time, before it's too late, before the people we love are gone, and all we have left is wishes and what-ifs. I think about the young men out there, the ones making the same mistakes I made, working too much, talking too little, building walls, keeping their wives and children at arm's length. And I wish I could tell them, wish I could make them understand. But I know they wouldn't listen. Not really, just like I wouldn't have listened if someone had tried to tell me. Some things you have to learn the hard way. Some lessons only come through loss. But maybe if just one of them hears it, if just one decides to do it different, to be present, to be open, to say I love you more often, to show up, to really show up, then maybe all of this, all my pain and regret will mean something, will serve some purpose, will help someone else avoid the same mistakes. That's what I hope for anyway, in my better moments, when I'm not drowning in my own sorrow. I hope my mistakes can help someone else, can light the way for someone else to do better, to be better, to love better. The darkness is full now, complete. Just me and my thoughts and the quiet. I can feel sleep coming. Finally, my body giving in to exhaustion, my mind slowing down. I think of Evie one more time, see her face, hear her voice, feel the warmth of her love, even now, even after all this time. And I'm grateful for the life we had, for the love we shared, for the children we raised, for all of it, even the pain, even the regret, because it was ours, our life, our story. And it mattered. It still matters. I let go, let myself sink into sleep, into dreams, into whatever comes next, holding on to her, always holding on to her, my Evie, my love, my biggest regret, and my greatest blessing, all wrapped up in one. And maybe tomorrow I'll wake up and the grief will be lighter, or maybe it'll be heavier. There's no way to know. But either way, I'll get up. I'll keep going. I'll keep living. Keep loving. Keep trying to be the man I should have been all along, for whatever time I have left. That's all I can do. All any of us can do. Live. Love. Try. And hope it's enough.